I made loads of mistakes when I first started podcasting. In this video, I'm going to share my biggest mistakes and how you can avoid them. My name's Dan Smith. I'm a professional podcast editor, and I'm here to help you create better podcasts. Now, my first big podcasting mistake was over-scripting. When I started podcasting, hitting record and speaking was quite daunting. So to combat this, I started writing out scripts for each episode. Now this got me over the line with actually recording the episode, but the actual content started to become quite boring, frankly, because really no one just wants to be read to. So I started scripting out my episodes to help with that kind of confidence and not stumbling to think what to say and to just be able to just go and start recording and reading and getting my kind of first few episodes over the line. But when I was listening back to them, they were sounding quite dull. To make a scripted episode sound more exciting, you need to be a much better actor and speaker than I am. So to enable me to sound more natural and authentic, I started getting guests on. And you obviously can't script an episode of where you're speaking to a guest, so that became more natural, and that helped me build up my confidence to record solo episodes more that weren't scripted, and I became able to speak more naturally without having a guest in front of me to talk to or without having a script to directly read from. Now, if you're talking about something you're passionate about or have great knowledge about, you should really have no trouble just talking naturally without needing a script, because you know the subject, and if you were to talk to, say, a friend about it, you would just talk naturally. It's just the daunting nature of sitting in front of a microphone or a camera that kind of makes it a lot harder than just talking naturally to someone else. You've got to start to see your audience as they're in the room with you, that you are talking to them and helping them in whatever you're trying to get across on your show. Now, scripting was great for me to build that confidence, and you may want to do that to just get yourself over the line if you're struggling to start a podcast. But I believe your aim should be to get away from that script and become more natural and more authentic and find your own voice. Now, obviously, with the joys of editing, you can make a rambly, repetitive, all over the place solo episodes sound pretty smart and well put together for your audience. You needn't worry about having to get everything perfect in one take. Leave long pauses, think about it. As long as you are getting there eventually, you can edit your way to a really good final product. My second biggest mistake was not preparing. I was going into the episode with no real plan and no outline of how I wanted to structure the episode, and this would lead to kind of rambly long episodes that were going all over the place and were no real use to anyone. So I really do recommend putting a plan together for your episode before you even start recording it, before you book that guest, because if you're entering that interview or that recording session with your structured plan in place, you're going to end up with a much more listenable episode that's going to really help some people, and one that people will actually want to listen to and be able to listen to a lot easier than an episode that's all over the place and doesn't really get to a conclusion from the start of the episode to the end. Now, you may think this isn't as important if you've got a guest because it's a conversation, but it's especially important with a guest because you may find the conversation interesting, but you've got to think about your audience and why they're listening to that conversation you're having and what they want to get out of it. People want to get the value out of the episode for the reason they've clicked on it. And if you take too long to get to that point or never get to that point, that the reason they clicked on, they may tune out and not come back. You should also be doing the research on that guest that you're having on the show to make sure you're not spending a lot of time in the episode finding out everything about them that isn't relevant, and do your prep beforehand so that make sure when you get someone on your show, you're getting the best value you can for your audience out of your guest. Now, the biggest podcasting mistake I've ever made was not pressing record. Now, I had an episode where I was interviewing someone for approximately 2 hours. And when I finished recording, it was quite a hard hitting episode. My guest was talking about some really big moments in their life that were emotional and meant a lot. So when I finished recording, I was actually really pleased with how the episode went, and thought it was quite a big deal that episode that we'd got recorded. Only to find that when I went to play it back, I hadn't actually hit record and had just been having an off-air conversation with with someone. Now, I was lucky enough that guest agreed to come back and do it all again, and even though it probably wasn't the same as the first time, we still got a good episode out. So really, really make sure when you're recording your episode, check your equipment, check your mic, check your camera, check everything's working, and please, please, please press record. If you found this video useful, hit subscribe for some more podcasting tips.